Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, hi.
Hello. Hello. It's been some weeks, Webb.
It has been some week. It's been, all things considered, it's actually been a pretty cool week for me.
So, where did you go, Swebb?
I went to Miami. I went to Miami and I found myself inside Hard Rock Stadium for the College Football National Championship. And it was no easy task, my friend. It was no easy task.
I know. I know. I feel like I was there, even though I wasn't.
So, where should we start? Should we start with
What? Tell
last week? I
me.
said I was booking tickets.
Yeah.
So, Thursday,
Plane tickets.
plane tickets.
That's the easy part.
Yes, after Miami beats Ole Miss on Thursday, that Friday, I decide we're booking the tickets. We booked tickets. Didn't have hotels. Didn't have game tickets, but knew that there was going to be a tailgate with some former athletes from Miami, my former teammates. So I knew I was going to have friends there. And after I booked my tickets, I posted that I had booked tickets on Instagram, and there were like 10 or 15 friends that said, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going down. I don't know how I'm getting tickets, but I'm going down because at the time the tickets were in the range of 35 to $4,000 for per ticket for the cheapest ticket in the building.
Yep.
So I went down, flew down on Saturday. The weather was phenomenal. I, we stayed in Brickell. We stayed in downtown. I used to live in Brickell back like 10 plus years ago.
They're really building up that section now.
They are building it up. And the hotel that we were in, there was a nightclub in there. So, my first welcome back to Miami is a bunch of girls in no clothes. And I knew I was back. I knew I was back in Miami. It wasn't that warm that night. It was like 55 degrees and these girls were wearing these tiny dresses. I was like in a leather jacket and completely covered up. So I got to tell you, there were Indiana people on my flight. There were Indiana people in the hotel. We went to dinner that night right around the corner from my hotel. There were Indiana people everywhere. They exclusively wore their Indiana clothes the whole entire time. It's like, guys, act like you've been to Miami before. You don't have to wear Indiana stuff everywhere. Like, you can wear other clothes. We're in Miami, for the love of God. But couldn't have been nicer. Everyone's like, good luck, good game. We kind of mean it. We kind of don't. We want to win, you know? But so let's see what happened. Sunday,
That's how people from the Midwest are.
that's,
People
and I
from the
knew,
Midwest and the South. It's totally different
I
there.
have some friends from the Midwest, and they're the loveliest, nicest people. I knew that the people were going to be nice. The thing about Indiana is like, they're an underdog. They were historically a terrible football team. So there were just so many people from Indiana or grads. They have a huge alumni base that wanted to be there.
They have the largest living alumni base in the country. Do you know right now, in all their campuses, they have 95,000 students enrolled right now?
And 95,000 is like the size of a medium-sized city. It's like crazy. But yes, because there were a lot of them in Miami this weekend. So I got to see firsthand how many people and they were going to spend, and they had already spent money on the tickets. They weren't looking for tickets. They dropped the money and said, "Hey, we're going to the game." Also, from what I learned, their alumni base and their school did a better job of making sure people got tickets. So they had, the tickets were like $1,500 instead of $3,500 on the secondary market, and they had hotel packages. So if you paid 5,000, you got a ticket to the game and a hotel, and they did a happy hour tailgate like every night that weekend. So you had free food and drink. So they did a better job. Miami didn't seem like they were prepared for this as much in typical fashion. So Sunday, I meet up with some friends. It's downpouring. We decide to go to brunch in Coconut Grove. Hadn't been there in years, hadn't been there really since like just after college. The place looks beautiful. I thought about moving back a few times during the weekend.
Yeah.
And we get to brunch, it's downpouring. So now we just have to hang out because, you're not going to go anywhere. You got to eat, you got to drink, and you just got to stay there. So we walked around after brunch, after when it finally stopped raining, saw a few old places that I used to frequent in my college years. We went to this bar called Sandbar. Now, Sunday was also NFL playoff games. So the bars are now packed with people watching the NFL games. Now, I got no skin in this game. So I don't care. I don't care what happens. But sure, let's go here. So I was with a friend who's a Pats fan. So I said, let's go find some place to watch the Pats game. And we go to this bar. It's crowded, all Pats fans. And people in their Indiana gear, people in Miami gear, people in Pats gear. Some guy was wearing a Pats helmet. So it was around that time that I decided, we got to get to this game. So I'm sitting there with my friend. I said, screw it. I'm going to start asking people for money and see if I can raise enough money to go to the game. So I said,
At this point, the tickets were like $3,900.
at this point, the tickets are $3,900. I said, what do I have to lose here? Okay. Let's ask people for money. Let's do a fundraiser and see what happens. And now I'm with a friend. We came down from New York. For the two of us to go, we're talking close to $8,000. So I said, what is the price that you would pay? And, we're hemming and hawing. So I said, let me just put this on Instagram. I'm going to tell people, ask people if you like me, if you don't like me, if I've added value to your life, if you want me to go to the game, send Swebb to the Natty. Put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, and I put my Venmo. And within 5 minutes, I had $300.
And about 2 minutes later, when I saw your Instagram and I saw you were begging people for money, I called you and wanted to clobber you.
So I said, this could work. Let's just see. And then I posted again. I said, if I don't get to the number I need to, I'm going to refund everyone their money. I said, if we're above and beyond the ticket prices, I'm giving the extra money to charity. If I don't get to the number I need to and we end up not going to the game, I'll refund everyone their money. So, people start texting, people start messaging me, well, how much do you need? I would do this for you. You would do this for me. So, now it becomes like this fun thing because now there's this sense of community. I'm telling you, people were coming out of the woodworks. There were people that were messaging me that I haven't even talked to in a while that were like, I want you to get there. You got to get there. Let me know. Keep me posted. Keep posting updates. So I decide to continue updating folks. So if you were following me on Swebb's World or you were following Dad and Swebb, I was posting old pictures of me in college, saying, hey, if you feel inclined, this is the Venmo. So I go to bed and we're at like $600 when I go to bed. I wake up and you call, you're like, are you going to the game? Are you going to the game? I'll give you money. I'll give you money. So thank you, Dad. You end up, donating to the cause. Thank you. When it was all said and done, I made $1,964.05 because one of my friends donated, I think, $103.05 for like 305 for Miami. So when it was all said and done, I made over $1,900. At this point, when I was looking at the tickets, they were still around 37 to 3,900 and they started to go up. So then I got nervous. And my friend and I had already decided that we were going to go to the tailgate. She said, you've raised all this money. If you want to go, I won't feel bad. I'll go to a friend's house and watch the game. So we get in the Uber to go to the tailgate. And she's like, what time do you want to leave if we can't get tickets? I said, I'm going to the game, sis. I didn't fly down to Miami to watch it from someone's living room. I could watch it right back here if I, if I was going to go to the game. So she said, "Oh, okay." And then she started getting nervous because she was like, "How am I going to get out of here?" And all these things. I was like, "Don't worry, we'll figure it all out." But I think I got to go to the game. What am I going to do? Refund people $1,900 worth of transactions? So I bought a ticket, got to see old teammates at the tailgate. A few Miami football players showed up because what happened with the tailgate is they weren't letting people into the closest parking lots to the stadium without a game ticket. And because President Trump was going to be there, like all of the entrances were closed except for four. So think about an NFL stadium, and literally you could only get in at one quadrant of the stadium, which is chaotic when you're talking about 70,000 people trying to get in.
So you,
Well, we didn't
I
even
could have
get to the
clobbered
best
you
part.
when I saw you panhandling.
Roland sent me a text. He's like, "Don't be greedy and don't stop begging and just pay for the ticket."
Exactly.
He's like,
That's my son.
think about all of the money that you've saved by the team not being good at all. You haven't even been in this position for 20 years. Stop being greedy and just
That's
go to the game. I said,
that sounds
$4,000.
like my son.
This is designer handbag money, my friend. A handbag will last me a lifetime, a really good designer handbag. $4,000 ticket to a game, that only lasts me a couple hours.
So
And
what was the atmosphere like in the ballpark when you got in there?
so before we get there, let's talk about the tailgate. So the tailgate, we're in the lots that are a little bit further away from the stadium. Different guys started showing up. Clinton Portis was at the tailgate.
Wow.
Andre Johnson showed up to the tailgate.
Wow.
DJ Williams. Who
Wow.
else? I think I saw Frank Gore at the last part of the tailgate. So it was a lot of fun. Lots of former athletes, guys from the basketball team, guys from the baseball team. It was good to see people. This was like an area where people were tailgating because they didn't have tickets to the game. So these guys all had, from what I saw from highlights of the game, they all had like sideline passes. So the fact that they came and they're all in hats and sunglasses
Yeah,
and
a
stuff.
lot of the
So
former players were on the sideline.
right. So most people didn't even recognize who they were because they were in hats and sunglasses. But then once one person recognizes, then everyone recognizes. I didn't talk to any of them or get pictures or anything because then a line starts forming and all that stuff. But that was pretty cool to see my former teammates, people who went to Miami, all different graduating classes, played sports at Miami. I saw friends from home. I saw friends from different classes. It was great. So I get to go into the stadium. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to get into the stadium because we have to walk all the way to one quadrant to get in. So that was a 25-minute walk. You would have had a field day with all the walking that I had to do. Okay. So we get in. We have to go through they scan the ticket three times. It's like, okay, by the third time, you know that I have a ticket because I've now scanned it two times before. We go through metal detectors. The Secret Service is watching everything. I get up to the seats. They're pretty good seats. I posted a picture. They were in the upper bowl. They were in the 300 level, but good seats in terms of just the atmosphere. And the guys in front of me are Miami fans. They're like, just so you know, we're going to be standing the whole time. I said, that's fine. It's like, we don't go to games to sit down, especially for the national championship. I said, no problem. There were some Miami fans behind me, some guys behind me. And then on either side of me are Indiana fans. So I'm just this one girl sitting in my Miami gear next to Indiana fans on either side. I mean, there's already the game was an hour from kickoff, and there was already beer like on the floor underneath my seat from guys who had spilled it. So I was like standing in beer for most of the game. But the atmosphere was incredible, and everyone's like, hey, good luck, this is going to be a heck of a game. I mean, the energy,
The
it was,
Indiana people were telling you good luck?
yeah, the Indiana people were telling me good luck. So funny story, the guy sitting next to me was in all Indiana gear. He had come to the game by himself as well. He was not an Indiana fan. He just placed a $25,000 bet on Indiana, and if Indiana won, he ended up making $80,000. So
Oh,
he decided last minute he needed to come down to the game. So he's like, rooting for Indiana, but then like I feel like a fake because I didn't even go to Indiana. He went to BC, but he had a lot of money on the line. So
How old was this guy?
he couldn't have been more than 30. Um, but, everyone's super friendly, high fiving each other. The lady from Indiana who's right next to him is taking videos every time Indiana does something well. And she's like, just so you know, you're in the back of every one of my videos when we're cheering. And you just are like, have a stone cold face because like, I'm not going to be cheering for you guys. And then, of course, when Miami scored, then all the Miami fans are going crazy. And because the game was back and forth, like one team would get momentum and then the other team would stop that momentum right away. The energy just stayed high throughout the whole entire game because each team had a chance. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Miami ends up on the losing side of things because Carson Beck did what Carson Beck did in our other two losses on the season.
A little more air under that pass. That receiver was like,
Why are you throwing into double coverage? He could have checked downfield, checked the opposite way, and then threw. He was like, he telegraphed the pass. And they had been making a push, had a few first downs, had the penalty. They were at
yeah,
they were at midfield
yeah.
with like 45 seconds left. First down, he throws that interception. They could have thrown out of bounds. Clock stops. You still have a few more downs, or a short pass, hurry up offense to get to the first down, or to throw an incompletion out of bounds. Anything.
And the guy that intercepted that pass was from Miami, and his father used to play for Miami.
Right. So it was one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. We have a chance. We have a chance. We have a chance. And then it ended, and it was just like, I gotta get out of here. And I walked to the Uber lot, which took about 25 minutes to get off the premises of Hard Rock Stadium, and I got home. But man, all things considered, it was a great game. Indiana is like the fans were likable, their quarterback is likable, the team has this underdog dog story. I walk away taking this loss way better than I took the 2001 World Series loss, the Yankees versus the Diamondbacks. Way better than I took the loss in 2014 when the Rangers lost the Stanley Cup Finals to the LA Kings. I walk away feeling like, man, this was probably, all things considered, I've been to some really incredible games and seen some really fun victories, but this is like up there in terms of top 10 games I've ever been to in my life.
There's nothing like going to these college games. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. The atmosphere, and this was a national championship game, but even big regular season games, it's off the chart.
The regular season game does not hold a candle to a national
No, not to a
championship game.
national championship game.
It just was one of those memories that I'll always have, and the fact that I was there by myself, but everyone was high fiving. Like it felt like a community. Whether you were rooting for Miami or you were rooting for Indiana, we were all able to talk when there were stoppages in play. Um, every time there was a timeout, you're chatting it up with people. It was just so fun. I I had a great time. I did not cry, even though Miami lost. And man, watching Miami's defense in person, men amongst boys. Men amongst boys. You want it so badly because you want it for them more than I even wanted it for myself when it was all said and done. But it was one heck of a season and just an unforgettable experience.
Nothing like it, man. There's nothing like going to these college games.
So here's what I'm going to do
What's it?
because I had to ask people for money to go to the game. I didn't have to ask people for money. It was just like a fun exercise and it turned
Oh,
into
yeah.
this like fun, let's see if this works. And people showed up and showed out for me. So here's what I've decided I'm going to do. I'm
What's
going to
that?
give money to all of my friends who, if your team gets to the national championship, I've got you. If your team gets to the Super Bowl, I've got you. If your team gets to the NBA Finals, I've got you. If you want to go to the game and your team is in a championship game, hit me up with your Venmo because I'm going to give you money so that you can try and get to the game. Now, my only two caveats of this are you have to go to the game, or you have to be really legitimately trying to go to the game. No flying into the city and going to watch the game at a bar in the same city. You got to be trying to get inside the stadium or the arena. That's caveat number one. Caveat number two, if your team is always in it, you're out. So you're a Dodgers fan, don't call me, don't write, don't text, don't call. I'm not giving you money to go to the World Series because I see what you guys are doing with the freaking salary cap, skirting the salary cap. You're not getting money from me to go to the game. But anyone else, I mean, I had friends who were from Indiana or went to Indiana that gave money, friends that were Mets fans, you name it, right? So any other team, it could be a Boston team. If your team is in it, I hope my team is in it every year. But if your team is in it and you want to go to the game, send me your Venmo. I'm going to help make it happen for you.
That's good. Now I recognize you as my daughter.
That's the least that I can do.
Because since the other night, I was kind of disowning you, Swebb.
Help me, I'm poor. I was like Timmy
I don't
from
like that.
the Christmas Carol. Please, please, sir, a little more. But you know what? It's the least I can do. It was one of those things that was just like, let's see if it could work. Now, granted, I had some bad influences of people being like, yeah, this could work. This is what happens when you're sitting around people who are like, yeah, definitely, instead of telling you no. But I ended up going to the game. It was awesome. It was an experience of a lifetime. I want to help other people be able to go to their championship games for their teams, regardless of what team you root for, except for if you're a Dodgers fan or like the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they're not in it this year, but you guys have had enough. Okay? Everyone else, fair game, send me your Venmo.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, this is the thing. I've been living in this sea of happiness. I'm wearing my Miami shirt a few more times before I put it away for the next month before March Madness kicks up. But all my other teams are a hot mess. Okay? Hot mess. I didn't even turn on the TV in the hotel for the 3 days I was down there. I was just riding the wave. I was riding the national championship wave. But I'm seeing the Knicks having locker room meetings. Man City has 2 straight losses. The Knicks have 4 straight losses. I mean, the teams that I root for are a hot mess right now.
The
And this
Rangers
is what I
lose
have
every
to,
night.
yeah, the Rangers. So they're sending out notes saying, "Hey, we're rebuilding. We're not completely rebuilding, but we're rebuilding." So this is what's happening now. Now back to reality.
Let's talk about the Knicks.
Let's talk about it.
As they're trying to trade Towns. I told you. Remember I said, this ain't going to work, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Well, I wasn't. He's too slow. He can't play this up and down style. He was better with Thibodeau. That was another dopey move, firing Thibodeau. Okay, this new guy Brown, he's trying to run a system that he doesn't have the horses to run. You got two big men, Robinson and Towns, that are clunking up and down the court. That doesn't work anymore. Not if you're trying to run that system.
And
They've got they've lost 9 out of the last 11 games. They're sinking like a rock.
and they haven't
Boston's
exactly
ahead of them
played
now.
good teams on some of these losses. Losing to teams like Sacramento, these aren't the best teams in the league that they've lost to in this stretch.
Because they look like an old, slow team. That's what they look like. And Brunson missed a few games. Hart missed a few games.
Well, we're recording on a Wednesday night. They play Brooklyn tonight.
Good
They'll
luck.
play on Saturday at Philly. Listen, I'm hearing that they had to have a players only meeting. You never want that.
Oh,
And
and then they got spanked last week in Golden State. And the Brown, the coach, is hugging Draymond Green and yucking it because he used to be an assistant coach there for a few years. So he's yucking it up with them while they're spanking the Knicks. And a lot of the Knicks players weren't too happy about that,
so where do they
especially
go
with
from here?
Draymond Green, who's always rubbing it in your face after he wins a game.
Yeah, he's something else. So where do we go from here?
Remember you asked me a few weeks ago, should they make a trade now? And I said, no, just I think they have a good team. Well, you know what? When you lose 9 of 11 and you got all this dissension on the team, and let me tell you something, the owner is not happy. He walked out of the Knick game the other night at halftime when they were getting blown out by whoever they played on Monday. Mavericks, another weak team. He's not happy. Then he had to send out a letter 2 weeks ago to all the Rangers season ticket holders and tell them that they're retooling the team and they're going to be trading off a lot of their older veteran players. He's not happy. So don't be surprised if he fires the coach. Don't be surprised if they dump Towns. But if you want to get Giannis, you have to keep Towns for the salaries to match up. And you can only make that trade during the summer.
So we'll see what happens.
But there will be changes because this is not acceptable. What
And
these guys have to understand, Towns makes $53 million. Next year he's going to make 57. When you making that kind of money, it's about results. This isn't some government job where you just show up and la di di la da da. You've got a result. When you're taking this kind of money from teams, you got to show results. And Mr. Bridges, another guy that took a big contract, he scored 7 points the other night. You can't do that. You've got to show up and produce.
listen,
You've got to
I've been on Mikal Bridges for a while.
Listen, you were just at the game the other night, the Indiana Miami game. You see Mendoza? That's a dog.
And he didn't even play that well.
That's a dog. But you see
Don't
what
even
he
bring me
did
back.
to win the game?
I can't handle it.
I don't
bring
even
me
know how that kid held on to the ball. The way he got hammered around all night. He did whatever it took to win. And then when he wins, he gives all the credit to everybody else. That's a leader.
Well, I think part of it is you can't just show up and expect that you're going to win just because you showed up to the gym that day. The Knicks certainly on paper and at the start of the season looked like one of the favorites in the East, but you still have to go out and play the games. And the season is long. There's certainly time to turn it around. You're still in the first half of the season, but they need to get their act together because listen, I got nothing else. All right. I got nothing else. Okay. So,
Well, the Yankees got some good news a few hours ago.
well, luckily, before we get into the Yankees, Carolina on a 2-game losing streak out west. These are games I'm staying up late to watch, and then they're losing, and then I'm waking up the next day tired and frustrated.
Well,
So
they play in a few hours. Their problem is
their guard play is shaky, and
the
they don't
guard
play enough
players
defense.
and they don't play defense. And the problem with this whole college alignment, all these leagues, here they are in North Carolina. They had to go play Stanford in Northern California and Cal Berkeley in Northern California. The first game was Wednesday night. The second game was Saturday afternoon. They had to leave on Tuesday to fly all the way to the West Coast. Now, remember, these are college athletes.
Okay.
So they miss classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Miss 4 days of classes.
Guess what? Some of these guys are playing games in the state of North Carolina and missing classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So we're not even going to go there with the excuses because everyone's having to do it. It's not ideal, but everyone's having to do it. I bet you they're traveling a lot better than, say, the women's softball team or the swim team. Okay. So, they're chartering flights. They're not exactly flying with every
No,
Larry, and Curly.
I'm talking about the class time they miss from the chemistry and physics classes.
I don't think that they're worried about the class time. There's not a single person worried about the class time. Carson Beck all but admitted he hasn't gone to class in years, and the guy's like 35. So,
But he graduated 2 years ago. He's taking graduate courses now.
yeah, sure he is. Okay, so now let's get to some good news because we just need to end this on a positive note. Cody Bellinger is back with the Yankees, signed a 5-year deal, $162 million. It comes with a $20 million signing bonus. It has opt-outs after year 2 and 3. But now he's 30 years old. This contract gets him to 35. A little bit better economics, would you say, Dad?
Yeah, he wanted a 7-year contract, and the Yankees have gotten burned too many times, giving guys that are 30 and 31 7-year contracts. And then the last 2 years, the guys aren't even on the team. They had to release them. and they're still paying big money. So guess what? Cashman played this perfect, and as teams made other moves, the Dodgers signed Tucker, that took them out of the mix. Um, the the Mets signed Bichette because they were in the mix for Bellinger, and then last night they traded for the center fielder from the White Sox, Robert. That took them out of the mix. Then it just left the Yankees. A few hours later, he signs with the Yankees for 5 years.
So
He was trying to make it look like he had a lot of other teams in the mix. And Cashman was just patient, patient, patient.
the art of the deal. So the Yankees outfield is shored up. That was never really their problem. Last season, they certainly had a lot of depth there, but it's always good to have veteran depth, a bat you can rely on, a player who is great defensively and can play left
Yep.
field, can
At
also
four
play
different
center field when
positions.
you're resting guys, can play the other positions, but great defensive catcher, also was a solid bat in the lineup in 2025. So that's our positive news that we're going to go with for our teams. Dad, before we
Yeah.
close things out, what are you looking forward to this week?
I'm looking forward to the NFL playoffs this weekend, the conference championship games. I'm looking forward to a Carolina game tonight. They got to get their act together. Or I might have to go down there and have a clubhouse meeting with them. Go up there to have a clubhouse meeting with them. That's pretty much it, Swebb.
You know what? I'm not even sure what I'm looking forward to because I put
Hey, when you go to a national championship game in a stadium that was on fire, you're watching it, that you can tell on TV that it's very loud, but it must have been like electric in that
it was
place.
incredible and I put so much energy into it. Then I'm in Miami, which is my second city. It was 70 degrees most of the weekend. I come back, it's now 17 degrees here in New York. I'm not even sure what I'm looking forward to. I know one thing, I will be staying inside. I am planning a mozzarella stick tour soon, but the problem is it's supposed to be in the teens on Saturday. I wanted to do it this Saturday, but I'm not bouncing around from restaurant to restaurant if it's only going to be 17 degrees outside. So I'm postponing my mozzarella stick tour. I think I'm just looking forward to relaxing and saving some money.
Well, don't you have a visitor coming to town tomorrow?
Yeah, mom's coming tomorrow, but we're going to the ballet and then she's out. So she's in and out, coming to the ballet. We're going to spend like a solid 28 hours together and then she'll be on her way. So I'm looking forward to going to the ballet. But other than that,
Now
you
you go
know,
to a national championship game with what 80,000 people screaming for 4 hours, and now you're going to go to a ballet, Swebb.
hey, get you a girl who can do both. I'm multifaceted.
Oh
Okay.
man.
So, Dad, before we close things out, do you want to leave everyone with a tip of the week?
Yes. If you have a daughter, always check their Instagram page to see what they're up to. Because lo and behold, when I checked Swebb's Instagram page, I saw that she was panhandling to get money to go to a football game when her friends are freezing their butts off all over the country and she's down in 70-degree weather.
In this economy,
So check your kids' Instagram page. Take them off of social media. Your children, take them off of social media, no matter how old they are.
and listen, my tip is if your team is in the championship, Stanley Cup finals, NBA finals, national championship, basketball, football, hell, women's lacrosse, and you want to go to that game, send me your Venmo because I will Venmo you so that you can get to the game. You just have to be legitimately trying to go to the game and you can't be a Dodgers or Chiefs fan because you've seen enough victories. Okay? So, everyone else, fair game. Celtics, I hope the Knicks are in the NBA finals. Uh Jets, Giants, anyone, the Pats even, I will support whoever is getting there. Because if my team's not there and I'm a friend of yours, I want you to be able to go to the game and experience what I experienced at the national championship with a victory being the end result, of course.
Yep. Sounds good.
So, and I know I don't have to reimburse you because you're not allowed to step foot anywhere near any of our teams during the postseason because you're such bad luck. So I know I don't have to reimburse you, but I'm paying it forward and I'm paying it back. But I'm paying it both forward and back. I'm supporting people because they supported me with a delusional idea, and it was an awesome experience. So that concludes
Sounds.
this week's episode of Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. Be sure to follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And hey, sometimes you'll see some crazy stuff at Swebb's World because I'm not going to be asking for money anymore. But if you were following me there, you saw the whole thing be played out. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble and share this episode with a friend. We will see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.